All right. Time for our poll question. We want to get you involved today. We've been positive so far. Let's go ahead and put this thing up. Wow, okay. Nobody's saying cocky. The question, how are you feeling about the Tennessee football program right now? And the options, cocky with an exclamation point, confident, hopeful seems to be the leader for those people who've gone online. And then one person or two people, a couple of people have said skeptical. So we have to always have some room for the negative person. But you tell us. We want you to take your smartphone, click the QR code, vote for us. Tell us how you feel about Tennessee football, considering the recruiting and all the stuff we just talked about and turning corners and this and that, top recruits. Tell us how you feel about Tennessee. You can also go to sportsource.tv, click on polls, and vote that way. Okay. Vols kicked off fall camp this week. Had a session this morning. Ryan, you were over there. Bad news coming out of there.
Yeah, Jourdan Thomas, who's in line to be the starter at the star position for Tennessee, a third-year guy, played a lot of football already, had some injury troubles here and there, but he's played in 25 games over the past 2 years, out for the year, suffered that injury on Saturday.
ACL?
Don't know exactly what the injury, but will have to have surgery. So regardless, it's obviously not ideal news for Tennessee. They feel like they've got more depth in the secondary. That's now going to be tested a lot more. The maybe exciting silver lining to this for a lot of fans is this opens the door for maybe Boo Carter as a true freshman to have a chance to start. So is he the one that takes advantage of this? They've also got some other guys like Andre Turrentine and Will Brooks who've played the star position before, so they could move one of those safeties down, play somebody else at safety. They've got some options, but Boo Carter, I think, is where everyone's immediately going to look now.
Yeah, and I'll play the role of Tim Banks here. Fans can want the young guy all they want, but as soon as he busts, whereas my unflashy veteran wouldn't have busted, they'll be screaming for my head, not Boo Carter's head. So it is another challenge because you've got questions across the secondary, as Ryan said. Thoughts on Jourdan Thomas's injury, Will West?
Yeah, not great. Look, this happened a little bit with the defensive line last year where you saw tons of depth, enough so that they could, remember, they were just shifting 4 out, 4 in like a line change in hockey. And then all of a sudden they couldn't do that when they dealt with a couple of injuries, and you saw the production drop off from the defensive line and the pass rush slowed down. So that's what I get concerned about. You finally have depth. You finally have the ability for Josh Heupel to play who he wants to play, not who he has to play. But you start dealing with an injury or two at each of these position groups, and then you find yourself in trouble, and you're right back where you were 2 years ago.
Yeah, the problem is you're going to have some of these. I mean, he won't be the last guy that goes down in fall camp. You're going to have some. You hate for it to be a guy who's had injury problems in the past, too. And also a veteran that you know what you've got. I mean, again, I get the excitement over Boo Carter, but if I'm a coach, and I think this coaching staff in particular, I like knowing that, okay, this is a known commodity. There's value in that. Anything else pop up to you guys this week? From media day, from practice, any types of stories, anything catch your eye or your ears coming out this week? Maybe not, but...
Well, media day to kick things off, and then there have been daily coach-player interactions with the media. This is a popular time to talk about guys who can make a jump. Arion Carter is a player that I think has created some buzz. William Min just talked about his potential. I think a lot of people know about his talent and potential maybe this year to be a really good player. Chose Tennessee over Alabama. But that's also kind of representative of you show up day 1, day 2 of practice and you start to look around. And I think the team looks more athletic. They look deeper in terms of legitimate SEC athletes. How some of those young guys like Boo Carter, who might be forced into duty, how they perform right away. But it looks like a team, again, eyeball test, that is more capable of competing week in, week out in the SEC.
Any headlines catch your eye?
Yeah. Look, we're still 27 days out, and I know it's early in fall camp, so maybe I shouldn't be hovering over the red panic button. But seeing that Javonte Spraggins was being held out maybe with some rust or some let's get the knee working after how your season ended last year. Lance Hurd is already having Dane Davis taking snaps at left tackle because he's being at least fitted for a new knee brace.
Right.
And there's still large question marks about, hey, was the footwork going to improve? That's probably the reason why he had shortcomings at LSU. You don't, look, it's early, I get it. I'm not panicking for UTC, but some of these guys who have some large question marks, you would like to see them get as many reps as possible before you start leaning into, okay, so it's not UTC, but you do then have NC State. Oh, yeah, it's not Kent State, but then you do go to Oklahoma. As many reps as possible in fall camp.
One thing stood out to me, and I will credit your newsletter. I'm telling you, folks, sign up for Josh and Swain's newsletter. It's a great end-of-the-week deal. You had a quote in there that I had somehow missed from Nico Iamaleava. I thought it was interesting, talking about, oh, no, I prefer road games, which is something about everybody being against you. It helps you focus. As a young guy, my concern is, what's this young guy going to look like when he goes on the road? And he hasn't played, so maybe that opinion changes, but when you read something like that, I'm like, it's another thing that makes you think this guy's got the right moxie. Hate that word, but he's got the right moxie for this job. If you're already saying, no, I like the road. I prefer the road. Nothing against Neyland Stadium, but I like it. Helps me focus. Like, okay. That just stood out to me that you got a young kid saying that. Everything he seems to say sounds right to me. He says and acts the right way. We'll see if that carries over. I suspect it will, but that was just another example of he seems a little bit beyond his years, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be dealing with nonsense. Like he comes in with the NIL talk attached to his name, but I haven't heard anything that's affected him. In fact, the opposite. And Josh Heupel has said multiple times that, paraphrasing, but he's more mature, more ready for all this than Josh was at the same age. And maybe that's just him talking up his quarterback, but I don't think so. I think that's real with how Nico carries himself. And I think his teammates have seen that too.
But look at the NFL, right? Quarterbacks, you have to be a little bit of an adult. You can't be. I've always made the comment on our show: TikTok quarterback is going to fail. Will Levis is going to fail with the Titans. That or he's complete disruption at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
But if you're that guy that look at me as a quarterback, for whatever reason, even if it's a number 1 overall pick, that guy always fails. Nico's the opposite of that, which is what you want, right?
Yeah, I don't see him jawing at other players like Shedeur Sanders on Twitter. You know,
Yep.
I don't see that kind of nonsense.
Spiking the flag at the 50-yard line like Baker Mayfield did, things like that. You don't see that.
Definitely mature, and I think the most exciting thing about him is people gravitate toward him. He's a natural leader, but he's not going to peel the paint off the walls yelling at people. He's not going to raise his voice, but he's great with guys one-on-one. They respect him and like him as a redshirt freshman. All that stuff. So you talk about Tennessee investing a lot in him. That's why you do it, because you could see that even in high school that he was that kind of person.
All right, very good. When we come back, let's talk about position battles. The most important ones out there. We're going to put 5 on the YP board and let these guys rank them. What are the most important must-dos for Tennessee over the next few weeks before the season gets underway? Come on back on the Sports Source. We'll start that discussion next.